So I thought I'd talk about the disappointment that is the iPhone 5. Apple had their big launch event yesterday, and it was all very disappointing and all very essentially thieving from every other market / every other device on the market today, really. So I thought I'd run through some like the tech specs and then what's new, and then I'll do like a little commentary bit at the end. So the key thing, I suppose, with the new iPhone 5 is the screen. Screen's 4 inches as opposed to 3.5. 1136 by 640 pixel resolution, which is not 1080p, but then on a small device it doesn't matter. 800 by 1 contrast ratio, which doesn't really make much difference. Fingerprint resistant screen, which they have on everything. But so yeah, I mean the key thing really is the Retina display is kind of the new the new 4-inch display that's actually on the phone is the new one, and they had to really release that because everything else on the market has got 4 or more inch screen. Most of them repping something like 4.3, 4.5, 4.7 in some cases. Other new things include camera, which is the front-facing cameras, or the front-facing camera that records you. As opposed to the back-facing camera that you can take pictures of things. 720p this time around, as opposed to I think it was 480 before. And 1.2 megapixel camera. What else are we rocking? 30 frames a second. The back one is exactly the same, slightly smaller, but exactly the same spec. So 8 megapixels, 1080p video recording. The only addition is, but this is to do with OS anyways, that you can take a 23 megapixel panoramic shot thing, which is only really OS based. It's not really anything to do with the camera. So that's a new thing within the iPhone 5. The other new thing is the processor, which is an A6 chip, which is exactly the same chip that's in the iPad 3. Design-wise, it's been changed. As you can see, it's like brushed aluminium brushed back, as opposed to their usual glass shiz, which is actually awful. I don't really like it because they constantly break if you drop them. And then there's really only 2 extra bits. One of them is 4G LTE, standard sort of stuff you expect to get on any phone these days. And new earphones, which they're calling EarPods, which is an absolutely horrendous name. And whoever came up with that needs shooting. Because I just don't get what the hell they're on about. EarPods is what they're calling them. Supposedly better than the ones that used to come with iPhones and iPods and stuff like that, because the ones that the headphones that come with Apple devices are absolutely awful. They're absolutely horrible headphones, and people always keep them. They don't stay in your ear properly. They leak sound like nobody's business, and you can always tell idiot bloody iPod users and iPhone users that don't actually replace the bloody headphones, because they're the ones that blaring music out and you can hear every bloody single word of Rihanna Got to Put a Ring on It, which is absolutely horrendous and catchy tune. So let's actually talk what this actually means and what I kind of think about the new iPhone. I think it's a bit of a letdown, really. There's no innovation anymore within Apple for some weird and wonderful reason. I don't think Apple can innovate anymore. Case in point, they had to sue Samsung because apparently it looks quote-unquote like the iPhone. To be fair, that was kind of Samsung's sort of fault, really. But at the same time, it's quite obvious that it wasn't an iPhone. It's quite obvious it didn't look anything like an iPhone. So I don't know what the hell that was all about. But in terms of innovation, what always used to happen when new iPhones came out was the iPhones were the best on the market. They were up here, and then everything else was down here, and then everything had to catch up. And what the iPhone 5 has come in as is the market's here, the iPhone is here. So it's at the top of the market, but it's in line with everything else. It's not up here, which is where it usually is. Even up here somewhere going around. And then manufacturers have to catch up. It's in line with everything else on the market, so it's processing power, same as pretty much the Galaxy S3. Screen size, in actual fact, is less than a lot of the majority of smartphones today are roughly like 4.3, 4.5, 4.7 sometimes. And I suppose it depends on what you sort of think about screen size. I love big screens. Assuming you can fit it in your pocket, it's fine. I don't like the Galaxy Note, that's way too big, but you can fit it in your pocket, that's fine. So processing, screen, and camera. I mean, there isn't anything on there that's like, oh my god, this is effing amazing, because even iOS 6 is shite, really. There's nothing going for it that you say, oh wow, that's really, really good, because there just isn't. They're dropping Google support, which is just stupid. But it does also... One thing I will say about that is when they're dropping Google support is that because Google are now making their own apps, things will be damned sweet. So because Google are going to create their own YouTube app and they're going to create their own Maps app, it means it'll actually be better, because the YouTube app that was always built into iOS was effing shite. I couldn't stand it. You couldn't do things properly. So I'm hoping when it actually comes to the iPad, the YouTube app for the iPad comes out, that is going to be good. It's already out on the iPhone. I haven't got an iPhone for obvious reasons, so I've not got a chance to test it out. So that's that. But I have to say I'm not overly impressed. It's just I was expecting something really good, like blow the market away, like Apple usually do, like with the 4 and the 4S. Well, the 4S actually when it came out was slightly above the market. The 4 came out, it was wow up here somewhere going around. And this it just isn't. It's not innovative like Apple do. It's not, battery life is exactly the same. There's nothing on it that you'd say, wow, it's amazingly good. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. The only thing I forgot to mention was there's a new connector. Why they've kind of gone with that, I don't really know. It's like smaller and it's supposed to be all digital, quote unquote. But it does mean you have to buy an adapter for it to be used with older hardware, so with docks and shit like that, which is slightly annoying. But yeah, so that's really it, really. But yes, there's not really anything that I can say that says, oh yes, this is effing amazing, go out and buy it, because it just isn't. There's nothing in there that you'd say, wow, I really want that, unless you're an Apple fanboy, and if you're an Apple fanboy, you buy everything Apple anyway, but there's nothing, there's nothing on it that's going to necessarily make iPhone users switch to Android, and there's definitely nothing on it that would make Android users switch to iPhone. When the iPhone 4 came out, definitely, and when the iPhone 4S came out, maybe. But this one, just no. There's nothing on it going for it. You say, oh wow, that's amazing. I want that. I so want that, because there isn't. So it is disappointing, and I kind of wonder what's going to happen with Apple as a brand. Is it going to just take a nosedive like it did when Jobs left before, or what's going to happen with it? Because unless Apple pull their finger out, they're just going to lose people. They're going to lose businesses. They're going to lose personal customers. It's just not going to work. The only thing going for them now is customer service, and that's kind of it. And it's just ridiculous. But yes, that is it. I'm going to drink me brew, and I'm going to do. These are going to be split into 3 separate videos with different things that came out with the Apple event. So you can click up bang there, and you can have a look at the next one, which will be the new iPod. And yeah.